Recording in progress.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the Conservation Commission meeting on Thursday, February 19th. Our first piece of business is continued notice of intent, SE 83-2517 Interfloof for Town of Yarmouth, 110 Ware Road. Proposed ecological restoration including cranberry bog and stream restoration, removal of tidal restrictions and water control structures, undersized culvert replacement and public access components in bordering vegetative wetland, salt marsh, riverfront area, and land under water bodies, coastal bank, and land subject to coastal flooding. I think I got it all.
Did.
Morning, Mr. Bishop.
Good evening.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
And Rick Bishop, Executive Director, Friends of Bass River, for the record. We were waiting for DEP numbers as well as comments from Mass Division of Marine Fisheries, which the Commission has received. I think we've satisfied everything we were looking for from the last hearing.
Yes, so we drafted the special conditions and sent them out to project partners. Any questions were resolved, and just to summarize the DMF comments, they are going to put 2 time-of-year restrictions on the work, one from March 15th to June 30th to protect eels, and one from September 1st to November 15th to protect the sensitive life stages of diadromous species. But the second one can proceed if the control measures are in place prior to the start of that water time-of-year restriction. They also requested that the invasive species management plan be submitted to them for comment prior to the start of work. And did the Commission have any comments on the draft special conditions?
We'll just add them to our list.
Yeah, we would just include the DMF comments directly into the special conditions.
I think the only discussion we had has to do with on-site, person on-site coming to check on the work. I think we asked, we are proposing, at one point we were proposing every week, but I think we talked about every 2 weeks. And I don't know the gentleman's name, but he...
Yeah. At this point, Mr. Chairman, I think the bi-weekly meetings are acceptable.
Okay. And if he can't make it, then one of his, and if there's an issue, I assume he'll come right away.
Indeed.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Bishop? You have anything else?
No.
Anybody in the audience have a question for this? Anybody online? Raise your hand. Don't see anybody raising their hand, so can I hear a motion to accept this notice of intent?
So moved.
Special conditions? Second, Jack? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No? Okay.
I'd like to thank the Yarmouth Conservation Commission for the support and looking forward to the next few years working together on this.
Thank you. For the record, Commissioners Bova and Mulhern signed the Mullins form. They weren't here for the first meeting, but they reviewed the minutes, so they're able to vote.
Okay, our next is SE 83-2515, Cape Cod Engineering for Joseph Amarello, 56 Pleasant Street, proposed bulkhead replacement on a coastal bank, land subject to coastal flooding and riverfront area.
Good evening. I am Bob Perry, Cape Cod Engineering. I do have a plan with me. You may put it up. And we'd also have the certified mail green cards here that we can give you if you like. They were here. I know I came in with them, but don't bet on it. Here we are.
Wait a minute, I gotta sign this, don't I?
I think this may be the second time that the commission reviewed this project. I know that I was involved, I'm going to guess, 15 years ago or so, and I think some repairs were made to the bulkhead at that time. But if you've been there, then you know it's in pretty rough shape. This is a marine seawall, fairly low crested elevation, about between 5 and 6 at 56 Pleasant Street. It's engaged with the tide over most of its length, and it has a associated deck area. Since our filing, we were asked to get a little bit more information, so we submitted a planting restoration plan for a 5-foot strip along the cap area and gave you an estimate of fill. The collapsed areas along the perimeter require some soil. The way this job would be done is we access down the lawn from Pleasant Street. I believe there may be a small marine barge, since it's a marine construction company that will build this, and they will probably bring some things in on the water side. But just fairly minor, small equipment, like a mini excavator to torque in the anchors. This area might have been where there were former salt works and some fill in the Bass River. So if the helical anchors aren't as sound, we've got a provision for a dead man anchor system, which is an alternate. And I just wanted you to see that on the plan because it's a possibility. Very traditional. The old material would be removed from the site completely. When these things are done, I don't know how often you see them, but they would basically pull back the material, extract the old materials in segments. So effectively what you have at that point for a very temporary period is a beach. And the materials go in, get fixed in place, bolted, and the fill goes in as we go with the final amount of fill at the end. And the planting is beach grass with a smattering of Virginia rose or Carolina rose. I know I had Virginia on here, but Carolina, I don't know which preferences are quite similar. And they're both considered native. The grass area for access is a turf lawn, and so I could imagine that would be dented if it's not matted, and that would just be top dressed with topsoil and reseeded. I don't know, they might resod it, but I don't think there'd be any need to do that. I don't recall whether we had anything serious from DMF. I don't think we had much feedback except that they received the project. It's at the boundary of the tide boundary here. So I'd say this job might take 2 weeks by a good marine crew, and no surprises that I could see ahead, but I'd be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? Whitney?
No, you addressed all my concerns prior. DMF just is going to limit any intertidal zone to low tide, 2 hours on either side of low tide, and no refueling, no time of year restriction or anything else. Thank you.
You say no time of year. I didn't see one either in the, okay,
No.
thank you. That works. I don't think anyone will be there in the summer, though. You never know, though.
Anybody in the audience have questions or comments? Anybody online? Raise your hand. Don't see anybody. Can I hear a motion to accept this notice of intent?
So moved.
So moved. Anybody second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay.
Okay, well, thank you. It was straightforward, and appreciate your attention to it.
Thank you. See you soon.
The next is a notice of intent for SE 83-2520, Cape Cod Engineering for Bass River Property LLC, 222 Pleasant Street, proposed reconstruction and raising of an existing pier on coastal beach, land under the ocean, land containing shellfish, salt marsh, and land subject to coastal flooding. They're asking for a continuance because the meeting for what was the meeting that was canceled?
Yeah, the Waterways and Shellfish Advisory Board meeting was canceled.
Right, so they didn't meet ahead of time, so we're gonna wait for them to meet before they bring it back. So we want to continue to what date?
To March 19th.
March 19th. So can I hear a,
So moved.
thank you, a second, second right here, and all in favor? Previous one, 56 Pleasant. Okay, so So this stays here with, do you have a folder for this one?
No, just the note to continue.
Okay, so I'll leave that here.
Put on the side.
That's the way you feel. Okay. We will go to the next one, which is we did get the number SE 83-2521, Horsley Witten for Town of Yarmouth, Grove Street, proposed stormwater retrofit project, including pavement removal, bioretention area, and management of invasive species and land subject to coastal flooding, coastal dune, and its buffer zone and riverfront area.
Good evening, members of the commission. I'm Nate Wetton. I'm Senior Project Manager with the Yarmouth Department of Public Works, and we're excited to be here with our stormwater remediation design team, the Association to Preserve Cape Cod, and the Horsley Witten Group to talk about the next Yarmouth Stormwater Remediation Project, which is Grove Street. This is actually the latest in a series of projects that we've been working on. And so for members of the commission that may not be familiar with the prior work, I'll just mention that, as you know, polluted stormwater is the number 2 source of excess nutrients in our streams, ponds, rivers, and estuaries. In 22 and 23, the design team evaluated more than 80 potential stormwater remediation sites, prioritized 28 that were the most effective, and then selected a handful of sites to bring through final design. In 2025, we completed construction of the Standish Way Green Stormwater Project, which features a bioretention basin. It's a feature that's included in the Grove Street project, as you'll see. Provides space for the stormwater to go. And then with the plants, the selective plants through root uptake takes out the nutrients in the stormwater. Additionally, in 2025, we built a constructed wetland on Curve Hill Road that treats stormwater pollution as would a natural wetland. And this is one of my favorite projects. I mean, how often do people actually build a wetland? I mean, seriously. Well, Yarmouth built one last year. It's very cool, and I'd encourage you to take a look. Design and construction of this work has been funded through a series of state and federal grants, which the Association to Preserve Cape Cod has secured, and the town is grateful for this effort. So for introductions, I'll introduce April Wopst from the Association to Preserve Cape Cod. Our team leader, her title is Restoration Program Manager and MassBay's Regional Coordinator. April is very effective at identifying, applying for, and obtaining grants that have funded these efforts. Also, you'll be hearing from Amy Ball, a senior associate, an ecology expert at the Horsley Witten Group, and Janelle Veery, project designer at the Horsley Witten Group.
Thanks, Nate. So as Nate said, I'm April Vopst. I'm the program manager for EPCC's Ecological Restoration Program, and I manage our stormwater work. So we've been working with the town since 2022, looking at stormwater management, really focusing on improvements to water quality, both at freshwater locations and coastal locations. The current funded work is largely looking at areas from Route 6 south, because that's where you have the most impaired lakes, rivers, and waters and coastal water bodies in the town. So the goal is to address untreated stormwater that's contributing to high nitrogen and phosphorus levels, as well as bacterial contamination that's leading to shellfish beds or beach closures. As Nate indicated, this was one of several sites that was identified back in that early assessment phase. And this is a high priority site because it drains directly to Lewis Bay and Hyannis Harbor. We have opportunities here to reduce the pavement, so that impervious surface at the end of the roadway, improve the public access down this way to water. And it's an example site that the town identified that if we develop a concept here, it's something that could be used at other end of roadways and ways to water. And both a public education opportunity with signage and improved resilience at this site. Next. So again, the short-term goals were to identify locations around the town for improvement, and with the funding, take those first 5 through design and permitting. As Nate indicated, we've also gotten funding from the State Office of Coastal Zone Management, as well as USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service to complete construction for the first 2 sites in the last year. Again, trying to improve water quality, reduce shellfish bed closures, and for an upcoming site, one that's also by a beach, reduce any impacts to beach closures and cyanobacteria blooms in Long Pond. So this is the high-level summary of timeline. Again, 2023, that inventory of sites. You can see in 2024 kind of the top 5 sites under that first list, which included Grove Street. We were able to advance the Curve Hill and Standish Way all the way through construction through last year. And right now we're working on, obviously, the permitting for Grove Street and applying, right now working on application of funding to get that constructed, hopefully this fall or into early next year. And we have a couple other sites, Wings Grove Beach, which is on Long Pond, and along Old Main Street where the sewing work was just completed, which is also a priority site that we're working on design right now. So I'll let Horsley Witten go through the details and also show you kind of on a map where all those sites are.
Good evening. My name's Janelle Very. I'm the project designer with Horsley Witten Group. Okay. So yeah, I'll be going through the design of the project, and my colleague Amy Ball is our senior ecologist who will be going through the resource area impacts. Just a little agenda. We have our project goals, our existing conditions, and resource areas, moving to proposed conditions, and the resource area impacts. So as Nate and April both mentioned, our goal for this project is to improve water quality and reduce pollutants, particularly bacteria and nitrogen from the stormwater. For this project specifically, we are looking at capturing and treating the water that's running down Grove Street before it discharges out into the Hyannis Inner Harbor and Lewis Bay. And this sort of just gives a visual of what Nate and April were both talking about. Maybe next slide? Yeah, okay. So these 5 sites were picked as the priority sites, moved to 25% design. Standish and Curve Hill both moved to construction and finished construction last year. Those are the 2 circled in green. And then our current project, Grove Street, is in blue. And then the 2 that we're also working on in concept level are Old Main Street and Wings Grove Beach. So this is just an aerial of our site. That's Grove Street. The red dot is where Grove Street ends, and there's sort of a portion of dune, beach, and then the harbor and bay.
Hi, good evening. For the record, Amy Ball, Horsley Witten Group. So I'll kind of tag team with you on this one, I guess. I jumped in. But go ahead.
So Grove Street is a town road. It's a public way to water. Both sides of the road are residential properties. The road is relatively steep with about a 6% slope sloping down to the beach. If you go out there and sort of in this photo, you can see there's some evidence of sediment and debris accumulation at the end of the road there, and then some erosion just past the road. There are records of an existing leaching basin just beyond the pavement. We were not able to locate that in survey, but we have plans for that. And I guess a few other features are the split rail fences on both sides of the road and a timber guardrail at the end. So the drainage area is pretty simple for this one. It consists of Grove Street south of Park Avenue and some of the adjacent driveways and front yards. And it's about 55% impervious. And now I'll hand it over to Amy.
Sorry, got ahead of myself. So there are a lot of overlapping resource areas at the site, primarily because there's the coastal features. So just at the bottom of the slide there, you can see with an arrow, because it's a little further down, the Hyannis Inner Harbor and Lewis Bay. It is separated there by a perennial stream and then a swath of salt marsh that is then separated by an area of coastal beach. And then landward of that, we have an area of coastal dune before you hit the end of the street. And so, of course, we have a lot of overlapping resources. The buffer zone that is shown on here is the one to the most landward resource, which is the coastal dune. So you've got the 35, the 50, and the 100-foot buffer zone. You have the riverfront area associated with the coastal streams. So the blue line, I don't know if you probably don't see that. This does work? Yes. Yeah? No, it would if I turned it on. So there's the blue line there is the inner riverfront area, so the inner 100 feet, the 200-foot riverfront area extends further up Grove Street. And then we also have the coastal flood zone, so both a velocity zone, which is in the red, and then the purple area here, which is our AE flood zone, which is elevation 11. Next slide. And I want to highlight this a little bit more. When we first looked at this site, we realized we had both a velocity zone and an AE zone, and that had some design implications for the project, specifically because of that energy from the velocity zone.
I'll now go through the proposed drainage design. So yeah, our aim of the project here was to pull back and remove as much pavement as we could, and in that footprint add a bioretention area. So we have the drainage area DA1A, which is our drainage area that's draining to our proposed bioretention area, and then we have a small portion of the site that we could not capture with the bio, but doesn't include any impervious area. And yeah, I guess, so also due to, on this slide here, you can see in the sort of right, use this again. So how we approach this is pulling back the pavement as far as we could, leaving space for, there's a proposed driveway at this property here. So we looked at just extending, or not extending, but leaving the pavement of 5 feet or so after that, and then removing the rest of the pavement and including the bioretention area. Because of this sort of space limitation, we are able to treat just under the 1-inch water quality volume storm, about 93% of it. So yeah, how this works is water would enter through the paved drainage flume here. We do have some embedded stones at the bottom of this drainage flume to act as velocity dissipation, since the road is pretty steep coming down, and the larger flows will also be going through this system. We then have a forebay to help settle out the sediment, a boulder spillway, and then the water will enter the bioretention area where nutrients will be uptaken through the plants and the soil filter media. Any larger flows over that 1-inch storm event will then overflow onto the beach and continue that down the path that they're currently continuing down. This is sort of just a visual graphic to kind of visualize what this would look like. So we have the bioretention areas within the footprint of the existing pavement that is out there now. And we've included maintaining access to this beach. And with that, these are a few of the other site components. On the site, we have included proposing a bike rack at the end of the road, an educational sign. We have demarcated a path to the beach with reusing that existing split rail fence that is out there now, and some sand fence at the end of the site to act as a barrier. And then we do have some invasive species removal, and we'll be planting some native coastal salt-tolerant plants.
So the site actually occurs within many of the resource areas that are out there, including the velocity zone and the 50 and 35-foot buffer zone to the coastal dune. Then there's a small amount of work within the coastal dune, but that is limited to removal of the invasive species. I believe we have multiflora rose and bittersweet out there, and then replanting with beach grass, and if we can get them, a couple of low-growing shrubs like bearberry and Hudsonia, the beach heather. Otherwise, the entire limit of work is about 1,900 square feet. It looks bigger than that, but this is a 5-scale plan, so it covers just the very end of the road there. As Janelle may have mentioned, we're removing about 800 square feet of pavement, of existing pavement. There is an area of pavement that will get removed and then replaced as part of the design, just because we needed to make the grading work. We'll be pulling things in, reusing those existing split rail fences there to try and, allow for the beach access, but also to make sure that that folks are being trafficked around the resource areas and away from the bioretention area. And then for buffer zone alterations, we do have about 1,300 square feet within that 0 to 50-foot buffer to the coastal dune, and another 376 within the 35 to 50-foot buffer. And like I said, the whole limit of work is going to be occurring within the land subject to coastal storm flowage and that inner 100-foot riverfront area. So I just covered that. Thanks. So one of the things we wanted to make sure was important because of the velocity zone for this stormwater practice, it was to maintain a really low profile. The boulders stand out on plan view, but if you see the profile, they're actually buried mostly underneath and are just acting as a spillway for the water as it flows through the system. This is a design change that we made recently from sort of granite curbing with a weir in it to make sure that there were going to be no, potential structures that would be acting as, potential projectiles in a large storm. And then, as Janelle mentioned, we are putting a lot of native plantings in. This looked better on the screen than it does now. But a couple of trees, the junipers, and a handful of beach plum, as well as some bayberry and a black cherry. And then all of the ground cover is a mix of herbaceous and grass species that are all, salt tolerant and native. And, the intent here is for this project has been to improve existing conditions. They're treating previously untreated runoff as it comes down Grove Street before it enters a beach and all of the resource areas, including salt marsh, and is meant to be, restorative in nature and provide an overriding public benefit and environmental benefit. And with that, we'll turn it back to the commission for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Jack?
I think there's some climate change positive aspects of your project.
There are.
Want to go over that a little bit?
Well, we are removing some existing impervious surface, and in doing so, by replacing that with a vegetated stormwater practice, you're not only treating the runoff, but also making the area less pervious and therefore more resilient to larger storms.
What about Bayview Bog? And as it gets constructed, and how's that going to impact the stream coming nearby and the groundwater that might impact the area?
I'm not too familiar with that
With Baby
project.
Bog. I probably should be. Is that one of us?
I have 2 volunteers.
We got 2 volunteers, thank you.
I'll let Amanda speak to this after, but we are looking with the town at how the combination of this work and the other project at Bayview Bog come together, and maybe looking at possibly doing a joint funding application. I think one of the benefits of this project, since it's down gradient of that project, is it is helping capture some of the stormwater in addition to the work they're doing to restore that bog and replace some of those culverts. But I'll let Amanda speak more specific to that project.
Amanda Lima, town engineer. I echo all of April's comments, and they do work hand in hand. And the watershed for this particular project was provided. It isn't directly linked, but you've got about 1/3 of an acre of that, and it's pretty much the road runoff in a few of the driveways.
So you're thinking that from a groundwater viewpoint, if you had a big storm on Bayview, but it didn't reach down to your project, is there going to be interactions that should at least be sort of thought about?
So our bioretention area, we do have the 2 foot of separation between the surface of the bioretention area and the estimated seasonal high groundwater. So we do have sort of that buffer there. If the groundwater does rise, these plants are also planted to, be wet from time to time. So we don't see any large issues there.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Paul. Yeah, thank you for all this. It sounds like a great project. The thing that I'm struggling with is a little bit is this right down at the end of Grove Street, like in the present kind of middle of the road? Is that where this thing, or is it off to one side, or?
It's in the middle, yes. So it'd be pulling the pavement back about 800 square feet and putting a bioretention where the pavement was.
Okay. And also, it's a town way to water, but there'll still be an opportunity for people to walk down there or whatever. There'll be a pathway or something like that.
Yes, we have sort of just a sand pathway going down, and that's why we have the fence on either side to kind of demarcate where the path is and keep a barrier to the plants.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, the barrier along the path, that was split rail fence, you said? Or was that going to be?
Yes. Yeah, so it'll be this split rail fence, and that photo has recently been installed out there, so we'd be looking at reusing that same fence.
Okay, so then what is the purpose of the sand fence? You said it was to act as a barrier, but I'm not understanding to what.
Do you want to?
It's meant to sort of act as a sand fence for the dune, so to protect the dune, which will be replanted after we take out some invasive species, and help the dune, stay established while the beach grass grows in, and also to keep people off the dune.
Okay.
Yeah, so this dark brown will be the split rail, and these ones are the proposed sand fence that will run along the dune to keep people from cutting straight through the dune, so they go kind of. Does that make sense?
Not particularly.
They don't
but-
want to create a channel for the water to go.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, and since they're putting vegetation, they also want to keep all the people away from all the vegetation, so they're trying to guide pedestrian traffic as much as possible. While the sand fence can also help the sediment accumulation on the dune over time.
Understood.
You have a problem with the sand fence?
I don't quite see the purpose of the sand fence. I understand the physical barrier to the dune and the plantings, but you said for storm velocity it was to keep a low profile, and this is the highest profile of the project, so just thinking storm purposes of is the intent to slow the velocity of the water before it gets to water detention basin?
No.
No.
You can take most of this, but sand fences are proven to help sediment accumulation in the summer months of dunes. So they definitely, we're trying to, with our velocity zone regulations, we're trying to eliminate structures, but sand fences do have an intended purpose to improve the dune over time. So I don't think I would look at it with the same level of scrutiny as, a wall or a fence. It does have openings in the slats, and it shouldn't be an impediment to coastal storm flowage, but it's meant to help the dune.
And as Brittany pointed out, it is to keep people out of the dune, so we're going to channelize the foot traffic to stay off of the grasses, but still allow for the beach access, which currently is more on the sort of page
Yeah, they kind of just go
Right there.
straight through.
So this will redirect the traffic around that.
Dave, just one more question. So you're talking about the sand fences, so like, I don't see the problem with it, but anyway. So this is a very narrow townway to water. Do you have any idea how many people utilize it? Because I don't think there's anything there in terms of a beach that you can use. You can probably, it's private property on either side. So do you have any idea how heavily trafficked it is? Where do people go if they walk? If I went there, where would I go besides just down below it?
Brittany, if you show that last picture.
This one?
Nope.
No.
The one that looks toward the water.
Okay.
There. I think if you look, and I'm not a Yarmouth resident, so I don't know the answer to how much foot traffic is there.
Okay.
But you can see that there's an existing pathway, and it appears that it also probably accesses that Tidal Creek.
I'm sorry, public?
There's a tidal creek there that's that created for us the riverfront area. And in one of the pictures, there's a kayak or a canoe or something, so it's possible that folks are using it for that purpose.
That's fine. I just, these kinds of projects, one of the concerns, of course, I'm sure that you deal with is how you kind of keep them safe from any kind of damage or anything like that. And, I just don't know if anybody ever did any collection of information regarding how much it's used, and would that be a factor in terms of how you built it? I don't know.
There is currently a townway to water study going on with Horsley Witten's group.
When I'm not involved
yeah.
with, of course.
And it's under natural resources, so I also don't know a lot about it. But they're in the final stages, I think, of compiling that information. They did a couple of public meetings and surveys and all that. So they are compiling action items to improve certain ways to water. It might be.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I
Once
just
that's
wonder
published.
how much that area is used by folks. And,
Yeah, just to add that Dave from DNR did review the plan as well. I did have an intern a couple summers ago do counts, but I don't have that information readily accessible because we were interested on that. But given the fact that it's within that existing, pavement footprint, we're maintaining the paths, the change of use would be the same, because it's just pulling.
And believe me, I totally support this project, so I'm just kind of interested in it. Okay, thank you.
I have a couple of questions. Leave that picture up if you would. Obviously, people must park there. Now you're taking away that parking, correct? Where that picture is?
I'm sorry, what did you
I
say?
said, obviously, today, people would park their cars.
Oh,
there.
right at the end there, yeah.
That won't exist.
It will, it'll just be further up
Further
the
out.
road.
Okay, but that'll be pervious material that they'll be parking on?
I would say they won't be able to park there because of that proposed driveway, potentially proposed driveway. You wouldn't be, there's not enough pavement after that driveway for the two cars. Yeah, that's something we have discussed, but I don't believe many people park down there as like currently. So didn't see that sort of as a main factor to maintain those.
Okay.
that parking area.
And you also mentioned that, I don't know, I don't think you have any control over this, but I assume some of the driveways that water runs off is impervious. And I know you probably can't go to people and say to them, would you, we order you to change this to, but have you put in some time to talk to the neighbors to say, this is what we're doing to improve your quality of water going in? Could you consider putting impervious driveways? I think that would be helpful. I hate to see all this work go to naught because it's.
They need to come in front of this.
Say that again?
Wouldn't they need to come in front of our commission and
So
then
you change it?
to change their driveway, and then we would be able to advocate that?
I think
I
there's.
don't know, would they have to come to us to change from an impervious to a pervious,
Yeah.
Brittany?
not
Hold on one
within the-
second, I'm looking.
I
Go
do
ahead.
know that the parcel at the end on the west had a proposed building permit. So when that popped up, it sparked interest because we were, planning the stormwater. So we actually did revise it to make sure that their driveway would be included if they were to request a curb cut. And in conversations with them, they did say that it would be a pervious surface. So,
Great.
when we have the opportunity, and that's just through a building permit review, if we can give that feedback, we will.
Yeah, I think this house on the end, that the proposed driveway, they currently have an open order of conditions with us. And so whatever they have proposed is what they have to put in.
So the other issue has to do with, not with you, but with us or somebody, with the fact that people leave their kayaks on the beach. And I don't think they have, when they need a permit to.
Yeah, they're not
leave-
supposed to do that.
Right, they're not supposed to. There are some ways to water where they have permission to leave the kayaks. But I don't know if that's one of them, and
They're not providing any sort of kayak storage as
No.
part of the project.
so people just leave it there and put it on the dune, and you and I talk about this all the time when I go for my walks. So,
Dave,
yeah, go ahead.
well, having rented homes on that street in 10, 20 years ago, I think that it's mostly small families that walk their kids down there, and there was once in a while cars, but it wasn't, there are other beaches nearby that have more car availability, so it is, and it's a little tough to turn around. So I think that safety-wise and so forth, I think, it's it's a reasonable kind of construction that you're talking about that will be able to handle the flow.
I wasn't talking about cars, I was talking about kayaks on the beach.
Well, kayaks on the beach were not as popular in
Right,
my
20
knowledge.
years ago, but they are now. And it is a constant problem that we have,
Yeah.
whether people did leave it on what they call their private beach, and they threw it on the sand dune or whatever. And I know that's just me venting, but it is a problem.
Isn't this something that maybe in the study that's being done, it's been a couple of years now that thing has been in the offing, but maybe Natural Resources has to address how that town-way to water is used. Because if you got this great system down at the bottom of Grove Street and is doing such important work, you wouldn't want it jeopardized by people, putting kayaks in different places and so on. I don't know any place where you can just put a kayak on town property and leave it there. Maybe there are.
Well, there are places you can get a permit to do that.
A permit,
Englewood
okay.
Beach has permit,
Yeah, like over at Bass Hole, they have that and all.
But there are a lot of places I walk in my neighborhood that people just dump there.
On public property?
Public and private.
Private's a different story. They do it.
Well, not if it's on the dune.
No, I know, but I mean, there are regulations having to do with the storage of kayaks on dunes that would be
So what I'm
sometimes
saying is-
addressed by this committee.
Right.
All right, but I'm just saying, if I have a kayak and I walk down Grove Street and I just leave it walk by this place and I leave it on the beach, I wouldn't expect my kayak to be there the next day, to tell you the truth, so Again, I think it's something, Natural Resources, the enforcement branch of this type of thing, so maybe they can address these issues out there to do this, this assessment. And also, I think it would be really wise for people along the way, if they can do it, to transform their driveways from impervious to but that would take a matter of time, it's an expense, but it shouldn't impede the forward movement of this particular project, for sure.
I did
will
find
say
the site
I changed
plan.
my driveway from pervious to impervious, and it wasn't even that expensive.
Yeah.
Not that I have a big driveway, but
I
Anyway.
found the site plan for the proposed driveway next door, and it is proposed pervious, so it won't be adding
Yeah.
a ton to the system. And they're not proposing to change that existing impervious area on the north side. So that will stay.
do you have anything else to add, Brittany?
No, I appreciate the opportunity to review the plans earlier in the process. And thank you for all your hard work.
They're great plans, and looks like when it's done, it looks like it'll be a great place for the town, so I congratulate you. Anybody in the audience, questions, concerns? Anybody online? I don't see a hand raised. So can I hear a motion to accept the plan?
To issue an order of conditions with special conditions?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. That's why you're here.
So move, whatever your,
Okay.
yeah.
Second, Jack. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Me.
Okay, so it's 4, so that's
5 to 1.
5 to 1. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
April? April? You know that that Jude and Martin stay with us when they come visit you?
I didn't know that. Nice to meet you.
Okay, where am I? Over here. Okay, we're at SE 83 20-2511, Cape and Islands Engineering for Richard and Carol Dove. 22 Driftwood Lane, proposed reconstruction of retaining wall and fill in coastal bank riverfront area and the buffer zones to a salt marsh and coastal bank. If you'd introduce yourself and
Chuck Rowland, Cape and Islands Engineering. I'm a professional civil engineer representing the Dove family for 22 Driftwood Lane. Just going to run over the project real quick. We're proposing to reconstruct a deteriorated existing timber wall, about 66 feet long. The site is developed with a residential structure with frontage along Muddy Creek to the north. Site is a little less than 28,000 square foot lot, and it has a single-family dwelling, several decks, a shed, a brick walk, paved walkway, existing timber wall, stockade fence, elevated boardwalk with a float, and all associated appurtenances. The resources identified on or within 100 feet of the property include coastal bank, salt marsh, land subject to coastal storm flowage, as well as the riverfront associated with Muddy Creek. The current wall is deteriorated and shows signs of failure. The timber tie wall is rotted out and needs to be replaced to prevent collapse. And for safety reasons, the fence is proposed at the top of the wall to prevent people from falling off. To access the work area will be from Driftwood Lane. Equipment will be stored away from the resource areas to the greatest extent possible, and all materials will be stockpiled within the existing disturbed areas of lawn and paved driveway. Efforts will be coordinated to minimize disturbance. The resources, we've proposed a silt fence with straw wattles to reduce the amount of construction disturbance. We've proposed to, or we will be putting up the DEP sign once, hopefully once the project is approved. And essentially, we'll be working in about 20-foot sections, remove a 20-foot section, replace about a 20-foot section, and then move on so that way there's not a large area that's destabilized and exposed. So with that, we really feel that it is a fairly straightforward project. If you've been to the site, I don't know if you saw photos, which obviously you can see there. It's probably fairly covered over with snow right now, but the wall in the backyard, and I have a blow-up of it right here. So we will be replacing the wall. There's a small portion of it underneath the existing landing, which we'll have to get disassembled to take out the old wall. And we'll be proposing a wall right up to that landing. We've showed the proposed fence in the backyard with a gate, as well as the work limit that goes all the way around to reduce temporary construction impacts. I've shown a typical section up here. So we've gone with 8 by 6 inch timber ties with a top elevation of 22.5. We think about the highest point of the wall is about 3.5 feet high. And we've shown a gravel bedding with some filter fabric around it, just to provide a little drainage behind the wall, so that to kind of slow the rot of the wall, to keep it a little bit drier during storm events. And we've also shown some dead men to beef up the strength and rigidity of the wall. So Brittany sent me some comments that I can go over real quick. So she's looking for you're looking for some details on the trees, which we'd be happy to provide. Just BDH. Sounds like you're looking to have a ground cover provided to the planting notes. So I think that I haven't talked to my client yet, but if you guys have a preference, we can either go with a creeping juniper or a natural grass seed mix. And you had a question about if you could bring up the plan. Tightening up the work limit on the northeast side, I don't see why we can't do that. So we can pull that in, kind of run it along. Obviously, if I tighten up that work limit, the fence, which the fence really doesn't create too much disturbance in my opinion, but we can bring it up to the lawn area. So this project will relocate the coastal bank just in that really small area where it appears that the existing wall was probably, I call it kind of Yankee construction because I'm from here. We believe that this wall was a bit of an afterthought after construction of the house, and I'd be willing to bet that it was not designed. I think it was just kind of put in there as an afterthought to level out the backyard, stabilize the backyard a bit. So I highly doubt any forethought was put into where that wall was placed. That's why those jogs are there. So it will be relocated ever so slightly in that area. I can actually give you a dimension. About 2.5 feet, just on one portion of it. And then the wall will actually be on the landward side, to the north of that a little bit. And then as part of that work, we think it's going to be about 12 cubic yards of fill that we're going to have to put in behind that wall. You had asked about the history of the wall, so we don't really have any information that I could find. The house was built in 1975, and we do believe that it was built in that time frame. There have been several filings since that, and they were included in certificates of compliance for not only the pier, but also we had a recent certificate of compliance for a deck that we recently had approved through you guys. You had asked about rebuilding it in the same location. It's kind of difficult to build an engineered wall with those curves and jogs in it. So we've proposed it to go straight across. We really don't think that it's causing any environmental detriment. And you had asked about planting in that area, that we are kind of shifting it out. So I did a quick area calc. So it's about 78 square feet. And so there's an area just to the north that's about 24 feet long, just to the north of the, let's see if I can get this to work. That's not it. Oh,
Is it
maybe I
on the
should
side?
point it away from me. So this area right here, if we planted that, it would be at about 3¼ foot strip of vegetation. It would be roughly the same area as this right here, which we'd be happy to entertain if that's what you're looking for. So with that, I've kind of gone through your initial comments, but put it to the commission. If you guys have any other further comments or questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I'm happy to see that you're going to straighten the wall out. Whatever.
Yeah, it was not in the original proposed house plan, but obviously a wall is needed. So, you know, back in the 70s or, you know, at that point, I find it a lot of like topography and walls and grading were really not always thought about, and it's something that you really need to be considering now with kind of any sort of house design or wall design or anything like that. So.
Anybody have any questions?
No, more just a comment. For the mix of ground cover, I feel like I'm channeling Ed, but maybe not creeping juniper. It's not.
Yeah, the Barnstable Conservation hates. I've worked with Ed for years. If you have a preference.
He left us with that message when he left us. He said, "No creeping juniper."
I know not to bring it in front of Barnstable, so I will make a mental note not to bring it in front of Yarmouth anymore now.
He's left his mark.
Mark. I have that written down here too. Just let you know.
That was my only comment.
Anybody else? So it sounds like we need to continue.
I have a couple more comments, if
Yeah,
that's okay.
I'm just going to get to that.
Okay.
So after we finish, we're not going to be able to vote today, but sounds like we need to continue. But go ahead, Brittany.
Just a minor plan note. If you're doing plan revisions, if you could relabel, this is the riverfront area. It's not technically a buffer zone, to have the 100 and 200 riverfront area.
Sure.
And just for projects in the past, when we're considering fill in the riverfront area, any work does have to show an improvement to the resource area as it functions under the Wetland Protection Act to the interests of those wetland values, not just to the interests of the goals of the project. So if we are entertaining 12 cubic yards of fill on the coastal bank, we do have to see how it's an improvement to the riverfront area. And I think since there is no stormwater management and no buffer, perhaps a very small buffer on the top of the wall in addition to the fence, could provide some sort of improvement. But that's up to the commission, just a suggestion that may be a benefit to the resource area.
Did you say you were eliminating coastal bank?
So if you can see right there, the wall is being straightened.
Right.
So if you notice, so it's going like this. And
Yeah.
so in this area, it's getting shifted this way. And in this area, it's getting shifted closer to the water. So if you want, I can play with shifting this either probably inches one way or the other, because the wall does go right in here like this. So this area is being taken out, and then obviously it's being filled there. So if you would like, we could probably do a volume balance, and I could probably shift this wall in about 6 inches, and we could probably end up having a net zero, if that's something this commission would want. And then if we wanted, we could probably incorporate a dry well into the corner of the house if we felt that was a net benefit to the environment. And
Are there any gutters and downspouts and dry wells existing, or does all the roof runoff go directly into the ground?
Goes directly to the ground.
Okay.
so if you want, we can
You have a rain
we can
barrel.
put a small dry well right there. That let me look at my design. Probably end up having to put it further up.
Which corner is your rain barrel? Is it?
Oh, no.
On this corner, there's a rain barrel they have in here, but on this side,
Okay, yeah.
we can.
And that's the major side of the roof, but it's not, from the top, it's not that much square footage.
I like the idea of a zero net fill. If we could
I'm happy to do that.
scooch the wall to make that happen, just so that the coastal bank isn't impacted as much. But it is not up to me.
I agree, that's why I brought it up.
Definitely do that, yeah.
Anything else?
No, that's all. Thank you. Sorry, yeah, I lied. So you said these trees are you're trying to protect them.
We're
That's
trying-
the goal is to protect them.
Yeah, the goal is to protect the trees. So I have the note on there, if they're to be,
To be removed, they'll be replaced.
if during construction, if for some reason the roots got way underneath that wall and, but I know they are on our side of the work limit, just because they are relatively close. But the goal is to leave them.
Okay.
So, yeah, they're not very big trees. We have about 3 feet existing to the wall, and all this work is, other than maybe having a small machine deliver material, and a meaning to be able to dig out the material behind it. We feel that the trees can stay, but we put a note on there that the tree to be replaced with a 3-foot tupelo, which is from the Cape Cod Extension native plant list.
Great, thank you.
Okay. I think I asked already, but I'll ask again. Anybody in the audience? Anybody online? See lots of people, but nobody commenting. Okay. So we want to continue this to March 5th.
I'm available on the 5th. The following, I have a conflict with another
Okay.
hearing.
And so then revised plans would be due next Thursday.
What's that date?
Next Thursday is the
26th.
26th. Do I hear a motion to continue to the 5th? So move, Jack, and second?
I'll second.
Brad. All in favor?
Aye.
No one's
Thank you for your
opposed?
time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to save this one. Okay, give me a second to organize myself. We're not doing anything with that. Okay, the next one is certificate of compliance, sorry, for Great Island Road. Where am I? SE 83-97, Amy Lernick, 355 Great Island Road, and my notes say that it's okay, there's no, they didn't do any work.
Yeah, this is a paperwork only COC request. They've had subsequent work with subsequent COCs that supersede this.
So
So
can I
this
hear
one is
a
all
motion
set.
to accept the COC or grant it?
So moved.
Second, Pat? Thank you. All in favor? Here's something to sign for that one?
Yes. Is it attached to the back of the previous folder?
I think if, all right. Moving on. order of business is continued stormwater management permit application, SW 2025-002, Tiger Bond for Boston Gas Company, DBA National Grid. 127 White's Path, proposed tree removal, regrading, and paving for construction of a new liquefied natural gas tank and associated infrastructure. And
So this project has gone through the complete peer review process that we do for our stormwater management permit applications. And they've reached compliance with our stormwater management bylaw, with the only special condition added that the stormwater pollution prevention plan be submitted prior to the start of work. So this one is all set to issue.
so it's just, we're just issuing the,
Yeah, the stormwater management permit.
so can I hear a motion to?
I have a question on,
Yeah.
we're still talking about the tree removal for the natural gas tank and so on.
Yeah.
You have a picture of where this is going to go?
At the existing facility, if you're familiar with that, where that is.
Gas company over there?
Yeah. These are very large files. Let me just for it. And so it's right north of the rail trail. The existing facility is there, and it's just expanding slightly to the north and the east of the existing facility.
Where's White's Path in that drawing?
White's Path, okay, I'll bring it up on your map to show you.
Oh, it's a Super Bowl, wow.
It's right beneath Route 6 on the corner of Station
Oh,
Ave.
it's in,
Station Ave. And
and where are they going to clear?
so they're clearing a bit north and east, kind of like they're expanding it like this.
They're clearing all of that?
Yes.
So, you know, is there any responsibility they might have or even have to, if they clear all those trees, it's going to be just clear cut, right? And they're going to put a natural gas tank there. Could they go plant some trees someplace else to account for some of those trees that they're taking down? We're turning it into the surface of the moon over there, you know?
Yeah, they are proposing, these are blurry. Since it's not within our wetlands jurisdiction,
Yeah.
we cannot ask that of them.
How would we ask them if they do us a favor?
You could give that a
It's just
try.
ridiculous. That's a big area. I mean, maybe there's nothing to do, but it just, you know,
It is a big area, and that is why the stormwater management bylaw was triggered. So any area of disturbance, even if it's just tree clearing, that's over an acre, has to make sure the stormwater is managed. And they have met everything in our requirements.
and what's the surface of that? And so they clear the whole area, then what's that surface going to be? Because the tank is going to take up every bit of it.
No, it's it's new infrastructure and a roadway that's taking up the new area that's cleared. The natural gas tank's not taking up a huge area. Are you here for this?
I'm the applicant.
Oh, perfect.
hi.
Come up to the. I have.
We have a
Can you just
flyer.
sit down and talk to the mic and introduce yourself?
Hi, good afternoon or evening. My name is Matt Wozniak. I'm an environmental engineer. I cover the LNG facilities at National Grid, and I'm the applicant for this project. And we do have kind of a flyer. We have an outreach group that's gone to some of our abutters and given them a heads up about this project. And I have a copy of that flyer that shows kind of the description and, you know, the new tank location. The reason we have to clear for the new tank is because there's a period of time when the existing tank is going to be in service, and then we're going to need to build a new tank. And then once the new tank is functioning and operational, then we can demolish the old tank. But there's a period of time where we need both tanks, and so that's why there's some clearing.
So when you demolish the old tank, can you plant a few trees?
I mean, we can look at the area. We do have requirements for security and
Sure.
fencing and things like that, so
Yeah.
we'll weigh that, but we'll consider what's required.
Okay, well, I just thought I would mention, it's a
Sure,
lot of
yeah.
trees coming down, and I know it's necessary and all the rest of it, but,
Sure.
you know.
Are there
Okay.
proposed plantings included right now in the project at all?
There's a forebay, there's a stormwater management treatment area.
It's just a grass basin or with native vegetation? Yeah, I didn't look
I-
that closely.
And it meets the stormwater requirements, so
Yeah.
that's what I was focused on.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Just as an aside, what's the biggest trees that are there? Diameter? Do you have any idea?
I mean, there's solid, very tall trees, probably diameter and, you know,
Breast
12
height?
inches, you know, DBH, yeah, probably 12 inches maybe. Is the
Nothing
max.
massive.
Well, I mean, I've walked through it. They're all kind of like a scrub forest.
Are they pine or?
I think it's mostly pine.
I think we ought to get a town law to volunteers that want to. I've lived places where they do, you know, you take something out and bigger than 20 inches and you got to plant 5 trees. And there's no reason for us not to, as a town, to have something like that. But an aside.
Well, you know, I'm sorry, Jack, you know? Okay. It's, there's probably nothing to be done, only if the gas company said, gee, wouldn't it be nice for the town of Yarmouth to plant some trees someplace? Because in that area, I mean, that's been heavily, there's been some amazing construction over there over the years. And the latest thing is the school that went in, and that used to be a forest. And they just went in there, and I guess they had to cut all this stuff down. And I just wonder when these kinds of projects are being considered, if the folks who, you know, kind of oversee this stuff say, you know what, this town is losing a lot of trees due to the fact that there's a lot more need for the gas and everything else, and so there's nothing to do about that. But is there anything we can do to mitigate the problem of removing so much of this kind of forest or whatever? You know, I don't know. I don't know if gas companies do that kind of thing. I'm not sure.
We also have the electric company, so.
And electric companies and everybody else, yeah.
Certainly would be good public relations if you did something and built it up here. We had to build this new tank and compensate the town for loss of trees. We did this, you know, and added trees. You know, not you, but the companies always brag about how much they're interested in helping the environment, and then you cut the trees and there's no compensation, no mitigation, I should say.
Well, I can tell you that this project does have to go for a special permit with the ZBA, and that's the next step in this process.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so our vote is to accept the stormwater management permit, correct?
Yeah, if you could just go to Zoom.
I am.
Okay.
I'm just
I don't know, you
wanna
always
make
scare
sure
me.
they understood that. Is anybody on Zoom? Raise your hand. Oh, those are our people for the next thing.
Okay.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to give the stormwater management permit? Special conditions, other special conditions?
Just the one.
Okay.
So moved.
Second, anybody?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, so it's passed, thank you.
does anybody want this
I'd love to
flyer?
see it.
with the information on the project?
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
It was helpful for you to be here, thank you. Okay. Find my glasses so I can read. All right, next is an enforcement for Englewood Beach Condo Association, One Shore Road, unpermitted regrading and vegetation disturbance in land, excuse me, land subject to coastal flooding and coastal beach. This is, our people are online.
Don't we normally require people to be present in
Yeah, but
person.
because this is a condo association that nobody is there and it's an enforcement,
Can you hear me?
yep, give us 1 second. We thought that they don't live on Cape and we get them moving on fixing what they have to fix.
Okay.
You have a problem with it?
It seems surprising that not a single person from an association can be present at this meeting.
I wasn't involved in that part. Brittany, you want to say anything?
No.
No?
Didn't we,
Everybody okay with moving on, or do you
well,
want?
didn't we have some sort of a, I don't know, the regulation or request, whatever it was, that people have to come to make the presentation? Did I
That's
miss
what I'm
something in
referring
that?
to.
What?
This isn't an application, this is an enforcement, and they weren't able to come, so Joe and I made an executive decision to allow them to attend on Zoom to speed this process up. If you'd rather I poll the board every time there's a Zoom request, I can do that. No problem with
But I
that.
just think it would be a good idea for somebody to show up and talk to us instead of talking on Zoom. But maybe they're off Cape someplace, I don't know.
They all are.
Yeah.
And-
Okay.
And when you see the presentation that Brittany's going to give, with great pictures,
Yeah, so I'll just start with the
pre-snow,
summary of this enforcement activity on January 18th. David noticed this on his walking. The Association Beach had a chain link fence around it for a long time, and there was significant beach sand disturbance and vegetation disturbance. It appeared in an effort to remove that fence and pile it up on the beach. We went out there a couple of days later, which was unfortunately after a bunch of snow. But you can see here that there are areas of the beach, sand, and vegetation that have been significantly disturbed. We had a hard time reaching out to the association since they're not homeowner, they don't have an address on file. But we had previous correspondence with them from an earlier violation in 2019, which they had just removed some of the beach grass and they had replanted most of it back through enforcement. And so for this, I drafted an enforcement order, and I would recommend that the commission issue the enforcement order to include hand raking only to restore the original grade of the beach, get rid of all those ruts, and vegetation restoration as needed by beach grass planting or seaside goldenrod or similar. I think it was all ground cover and no shrubs were disturbed on the beach. I think the association's intention is to replace this fence with a split rail fence, which would be additional disturbance on the beach, and I would recommend that work be permitted under an RDA.
and the fence that's on the side up there that separates Townway to water to their beach, is that going?
I think their intention is to, they can answer these questions, to replace the entire fence. Obviously, they got only partway through before we asked them to stop working. But it would still be additional disturbance to put in a new fence, so I think it should require an RDA.
So they should come back with an RDA. Anybody have any questions? for
Am I
Brittany?
allowed to introduce myself at this point, or can you see me visually at all?
We don't do
See, just-
video, but we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay. All right. I appreciate it. Yes. So I am Jessica DeMars. I am president of the board at the Englewood Association. There are 5 of us, none of which live on Cape. So yes, to address that, the board members do not live there. We do have unit owners that live there, but however, they would not be representing us here today. We are a new board, and so a lot of this is new to us. So I'm happy to follow the rules and happy to address and plant the vegetation and so on and so forth. We had a challenge with this fence on several reasons. The way it's located, one, it's rusty. It's been very rusty. We've had several cars plow into it recently. As of late, the snow plow had actually bumped into it and caused the fence to come off. And the neighbors across the street sent us, who are both lawyers, sent us this big letter that we need to remove it ASAP and all this stuff. So we did just that because we didn't want any issues with anybody getting hurt. And so unfortunately, there was some disturbance, but not by vehicles and things of that nature. I think it's just trying to pull those poles out that have been in there for so long naturally caused some challenges there. We are in the process and will be, when we have the permit to do so, remove the rest of the fence. And we are going to, and I don't know the young lady who's speaking, but We will be replacing it with the split rail. We will get the permit. I did talk to Joe about all of this because, again, we will follow the directions and the regulations provided by the town. We just had to get this fence out of the way, especially that one side that could have caused additional danger. So that's kind of where we're at. The reason you don't have, we do need to update the address, and I could be your key contact going forward. I apologize that you don't have their contact information, so we'll have to get that addressed as well. But I can certainly be your point person going forward.
I just
So
want
hopefully that helps and brings some clarity, but we're all learning because all 5 of us are brand new. I don't know if you know Englewood. It used to be timeshares and it recently changed to all owners and a lot of renters now. And it's just really changed a lot. So as a new board, we're trying to put some enforcement around some of these things.
I will take exception to you saying there wasn't any machinery because I saw it there and you can see the tractor tire marks if you go back to the previous picture. I think it's that one. You can see it right up there towards the middle of the picture. And then I saw the guy working, actually was at the condo, and I asked if he was doing the work, and because what was left is what's there. And he said he had to get on there in order to, easier to remove the fence as opposed to by hand, and I told him the rest needed to be done by hand, but.
Understood.
Yeah,
the contractors I had spoken to alluded that it was all done by hand, so we appreciate that.
Well, yeah, I guess if you drive something by hand, but that's about it, because it was quite a big tractor. So, and I was involved in the, what'd you say, it was 2019
Yes.
issue?
Yeah, so I had just bought there in 2016, so 2019 was a different board then as well.
And the problem was, we see where the grassy area is in the picture, they were disturbing that, and, which is a dune, and they weren't allowed to do that, so.
Okay.
That's gonna have to be replanted. So,
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. We are learning as we're going here, and certainly we'll ensure that we follow, the town of Yarmouth regulations as it comes across to the beach.
what I would recommend you do is get in touch with Joe or Brittany, and
Yep.
they'll tell you what you need to do, and
Well, I would recommend you issue an enforcement order.
yes,
Yeah.
to do an RDA.
It can be.
And what is an RDA? I'm sorry, this is my first time doing this.
It's a request for determination of applicability. It's an application under the Wetlands Protection Act.
Okay. All right, I'll talk to Joe because I don't know.
So,
Okay, I appreciate it.
So we need to vote. We need to vote to have an enforcement order with the people, part of the enforcement orders, they will apply using an RDA for a new fence and other.
Restore former grade with hand raking, no machinery, and additional replanting with beach grass if needed. I imagine it'll be pretty hard to tell right now, so maybe with a later site visit in the spring to assess the beach grass planting.
Once the snow is gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at least.
Can we, and again, I'll talk to Joe maybe, because we do need to put the new fence up and, put the permit in for that, have the contractor put the new fence in, and then plant, so I would probably think spring, right?
Yeah, so the enforcement order will outline all your next steps, which would
Okay.
include the application for the fence and the replanting of the beach grass and raking.
So you can't
Okay, perfect.
you can't do anything until we go through the RDA and come back to us again.
Okay,
So no new fence yet. But I know the neighbors will appreciate a split rail. Did anybody do a motion yet? No, can I hear a motion for the enforcement order?
So moved.
So move, second, anybody? Second, Paul? All in favor, of the enforcement order?
Okay.
Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you. Do I have to sign
Do we have
this?
your contact information, Jessica? Okay,
Joe has it in an email,
yeah, okay.
but I can ensure that he has all of it.
I'm sure he does, thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Do you want me to sign this, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. Approval of minutes from 2/5/2026. Anybody have any comments on that? I thought they were fine.
Nope.
It's on that last meeting, so can I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Second, Jack. Christian and Pat can't vote, can they? So there are four of us. Okay, so all in favor for the four of us?
Aye.
Anybody against? No? Okay, and two abstentions. All right, next is the review of draft regulation updates, which you sent to us.
Did everyone have a chance to review these?
I can't say everyone, I can say I did.
I'm asking everyone.
Did everybody review it?
I did not.
Okay, I think they're pretty minor, but I would also be in favor of waiting until we have our full board sitting here to vote on them. If you have any comments, we can discuss now, or,
I looked it over, I thought, you and I talked about it too, but I thought all the changes made sense.
I just had one minor comment. I see that we reference the website. I wasn't sure if it was appropriate to reference the website within the regulations, or if it...
we confirm with council, we do reference the website in other locations as well.
Oh, okay.
So it confirmed that it was okay.
Okay,
I don't think I have to do a URL, but I can triple check and make sure, because I can easily include the URL if he would be more comfortable with that.
No, it was more just wording and me overthinking.
Oh, no,
But
it's not
if
overthinking.
town council was fine with it, then that's fine.
Okay.
We'll accept that.
Anybody else? Any other business not normally?
Do we
Yeah,
need
let's
to...
just vote to continue if you don't
Oh,
mind.
I'm sorry, yeah, vote to continue the draft. Do I hear a motion
To
to continue?
what date?
The 5th or the 19th, I will say both agendas already look quite long.
Can we go...
Try the 5th, because,
Oh,
5th, because I cannot attend the 19th.
okay, were you going to say the opposite?
No.
Okay.
okay, so we'll try the 5th. Can I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second, anybody? Jack?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, no one's opposed. All right, yeah, just bring food on the 5th and the 19th. I'm gonna go away the 19th, Paul, but I changed my air flight to the
Good.
20th, just for you.
I did the same if you saw on the draft agenda that we were gonna, I included vice chair vote, but I moved it because I'd also prefer a full board to vote on that.
Okay, so we'll do that in April then. Or do you think we can do it on the 5th?
Maybe on the 5th, maybe
See.
later, once everyone's
Unless we're
here.
sleeping.
What do we have to do?
Just to approve the regulations.
I thought we'd,
Okay, anything else?
Yeah, I have one thing, if it's
sure.
okay. Next Wednesday, the 25th, is the CPC public hearing, okay, or presentation, or whatever you want to call it. And right after that is the Mattakese Utilization Committee. So two very exciting meetings, so you won't want to miss them. The CPC meeting is at 3, and I think the other one is right after at 4.
It's at 6, the muck.
Yeah. And there are some conservation elements to the Mattakese, I don't want to say muck, the Mattakese
That's fair.
proposal, right?
That's correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's important.
That's the 25th at 6, you said, Pneumatic East is at 6?
Yeah, CPC at
Is
3.
that 6 or is it at 6?
That's what I saw earlier today. I can make sure.
The other meeting's at 3.
Yeah, one's at 3, one's at 6.
You might want to go for cocktails between the meetings or something.
Are they both here?
Yeah,
I'm here, yeah.
hearing room.
What I have that day, I'm sure I have something.
here, what?
If anybody is interested in being a part of a promotional video about our conservation trails, the Cape Media Center contacted me this week, interested in doing a piece on a short trail for a lunch break. So let me know.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I think he's just going to interview me at a location and talk about one of our conservation trails to highlight it.
That's nice.
So if anyone else wants to do that with me,
Where, I'm sorry, where is this?
we can decide which of our trails to.
If you do it at Sierra Hilla, I'll join you.
Okay, great.
That
was-
Which one?
That was the one I was thinking about.
Who's that?
That's the bog on Winslow Gray.
Yeah.
And I just have another question about, isn't there a meeting coming up which, about, somebody's gonna make a presentation about conflict of interest and all that for all of those who are behind in that? Can you tell me when that is?
I got that today, just when I was leaving.
That's today or yesterday?
It was?
No, I got the message today.
Yeah,
Could
it's
tell
next
you.
week, I think, isn't it?
Minute.
Let me go to my email.
You guys haven't done that? That's so much fun.
Yeah, I have to check my email. I don't know the date, but yeah, there's a 3 p.m. and a 7 p.m. session.
Oh, it's at night?
There's one at 3 p.m. as well. So it's,
Probably got
I should have an email about it,
It's
right?
different than the one I did when I started.
you don't need to do multiple.
No, I did mine online too.
They're just offering an in-person one,
Oh, I see, okay.
February 23rd, at 3 p.m. and at 6 p.m. If you're interested in doing an open meeting law and conflict of interest training in the hearing room in person, but I think most of you are up to date. I think you might be the only one who
Yeah,
is not.
and I object to that because I went to the library and I went on that thing, but it must have been for the CPC committee or something. I don't know.
It might have just been too many years ago.
Good for both, if he's already.
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
You shouldn't have to do it twice.
No, you shouldn't.
It's the same ethics.
This will be like the third time.
You do have to do it
They
every
must
2
be
years,
sensing
to
a
clarify
conflict of
for the
interest.
record.
You have to do it every 2 years, but if you're on two committees, you shouldn't have to do it
You
twice.
shouldn't have to do it twice in the
He's a
same year.
representative on CPC from the Conservation Commission, so he has to do it for this committee.
Right, but he shouldn't have to do it for the CPC, is what I'm, both.
I'll do it.
All I'm saying is you haven't done it in 2 years.
Oh, we haven't done it 2 years.
Boy, Paul.
Time flies. That's all I have to say. Time flies when you're having fun. So, all right, I'll see if I can get over here.
Okay.
Couldn't have been 2 years.
Anything else? We hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
You said with such vigor. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.